I'm Mike Wolf.
And I'm Frank Fritz, and we're pickers.
We travel the back roads of America looking for rusty gold. We're looking for amazing things buried in people's garages and barns.
What most people see as junk, we see as dollar signs.
We'll buy anything we can make a buck on.
Each item we pick has a history all its own. And the people we meet, well, they're a breed all their own. We make a living telling the history of America, one piece at a time.
Today we're picking in the southern Kentuckabama city in the deep roots of the Sasquatch region, looking for some good finds.
We found a house that seems to have some good pickings.
Alright, let's take a look around.
Well, howdy dandy there, fellas. What can I do for y'all?
Yeah, we're looking for people who collect historical relics, and we buy them from them at really low prices so we can sell them at a ridiculously high profit margin, on top of the metric ton of money we get for having a show on the History Channel.
Well, I am a bit of a hoarder myself. I like to collect old Civil War relics.
Oh, well, alright. What's your name?
Well, howdy there. My humble title is John Theodore Anderson Tiberius Bob Jacob Ross Jebediah Smithers Peterson to Spice from Richardson the 13 and a half. My family's been in the southern Kentuckabama region since the first Negro crossed over into the New World. My father, John Theodore Anderson Tiberius Bob Jacob Ross Jebediah Smithers Peterson to Spice from Richardson the 12 and a half, threw me in a trash receptor who's a what's when I was a youngin'. My inkling for the Civil War relics came to me when a man wearing a pillowcase as a mask saved me from a mugger with a sharpened Confederate flag. I've been collecting ever since.
Alright, well, let's take a look around. Oh, what is this here thingy thing?
Oh, that's my authentic Civil War Gatling gun. This is one of my most prized possessions, but I'm willing to sell it for some good money, if you know what I mean. I found it in the forest when I was a kid, and I almost darn blew my head off with it. But I loved it here, and it's been here ever since.
The Gatling gun was invented during the Civil War by Richard J. Gatling to solve the problems of reloading and not firing in bursts. It accomplished this by adding multiple barrels that would be loaded by gravity and both shot and turned with a crank in the back. It is the precursor to all modern machine guns, but was only used again in the Spanish-American War because it was quickly replaced with better technology. Some Gatling guns were utilized inside trenches during the Siege of Petersburg, and a few Gatling guns were even bought personally for Union generals, worth around $50,000 today, and depending on the condition of it. I'll give you $10 for it.
It's worth a little bit more than that. How about 20?
That's a good deal!
Alright, well, I think we're going to keep moving around if that's okay.
Alright.
What's this here?
Okay, let me see that. My great-grandpappy used this vest to protect him in the war, fighting for the Confederacy. I actually know a bit about this one because he would tell me stories about the other soldiers making fun of him. He said it was big and constricted his shoulders, but he wore it because of the appeal of being almost invincible was too great. Unfortunately, when his buddy got shot and the layer of iron and fabric tore the wound to shreds, he took it off.
Oh, well, would you be willing to sell it?
No, that's one of the only things I remember my granddaddy buying. It's a family possession of mine.
It's very deep. Well, as I was looking at that there vest, I noticed this rifle and these bullets in this here paper cartridge. Are these from the Civil War era?
Oh yeah, this is my 1861 Springfield rifle. It was one of the most commonly used guns in the Civil War. My granddaddy also used this one. He said he shot hundreds of men with it and those Mine cartridges.
At the beginning of the Civil War, the Enfield rifle from Britain was chiefly used, but that changed with the advent of the .58 caliber Springfield musket. The musket turned ordinary soldiers into talented marksmen by drastically increasing range and accuracy. The muskets were loaded with paper cartridges that contained both bullet and propellant. The bullets were called Mine bullets. These bullets were revolutionary because they had no grooves on the side and they were smaller so they could fit into guns easier. The Springfield musket and the Mine bullet drastically increased the range and accuracy of weaponry in the Civil War, so much so Standard battle positions had been moved back by 2 football fields to account. This technology was also a strength for the Union because the Confederacy did not have the resources to craft the weapons on a large scale and had to rely on stolen weapons and outdated Enfield rifles. They cost $995 today.
Would you be willing to sell it?
Yeah, but for a hefty price.
Let me inspect this. I'll give you 5 cents for it.
That's a little bit low. How about 2 buckaroos?
Do I look like Bill Gates to you? We'll give you $1.
You drive a hard bargain, but I guess you sold, because I'm scared of you.
Next on American Pickers, we find a very promising house, but the owner isn't nearly as enthusiastic.
Alright, let's take a look around.
Look at the sheer quantity of stuff this guy has.
You know what? I think we got a new guy.
Hey, I was wondering if,
Get off my property!
No. We were just wondering if we could buy some of your stuff from you at such a ridiculously low price that our profit margin is undefined.
That sounds okay to me. My name is Jeff Thompson. My family moved to northern Kentucky when I got a job offer here. I don't have a particularly rich history from the Civil War, but my uncle gave me a bunch of Civil War relics when his museum went out of business.
Alright, let's take a look.
Whoa. Are these ironclads?
Yeah, I think so. There's an inscription on the back. It says in the original drawing of the Battle of Hampton Roads, the first naval battle that featured 2 ironclads facing off against each other. The battle contained the Confederate CSS Virginia and the Union USS Monitor. They exchanged direct hits for hours to no effect until the Virginia hit the pilot house of the Monitor, blinding the captain, and then escaped. These new ironclads were so effective, they obliterated even the largest wooden vessels, without a scratch. They also tarnished the fact that naval warfare, that forts were stronger than ships. The significance was that ironclads could now charge through forts and gain access to water that wooden ships couldn't. In some cases, ironclads even took on forts and won.
Interesting. How much are you willing to let this drawing go for?
How about $7.41?
That's quite a bit of money. How about 3 cents and some lint?
I do like my lint. Sure, I'll take it.
I'll go get the liberal.
I always like to think I have this bargaining thing down. I've been a solid compromiser since I was young. I even bargained my first car down to 15 cents, and that's a deal if I do say so myself.
Whoa, you got quite the collection of toys and fidgets around here.
I do like to fidget, but this is one of my favorite things. This is a scheme of a Confederate torpedo submarine.
Wow!
The South was extremely lacking in metal resources to build the sheer number of ironclads that the Union began producing. So they had to get crafty. The South owed their mine prowess to Matthew Fontaine Murray, an oceanographer who first demonstrated the use of mines in 1861. Torpedo technology grew from mines. They were basically mines attached to large rods on ships that stuck to and destroyed ironclads. Submarines changed the game. They were almost invisible, and the mines attached to them damaged the ironclads under the water, where they were most vulnerable, and it hurt the most.
I think I'd be willing to pawn this masterpiece of Poseidon's pristine civil warfare for a fine price of $1,000.
Well, does it have any kind of like sentimental value?
Well, it does a little bit.
Okay. I'll offer you $100.
It still has sentimental value. That's a little bit low.
I guess I'll go $101, but that's my final offer.
That's a deal.
So, do you have anything that's anime related?
No, not really, but I do have this piece of railroad.
Let me guess. It's from the Civil War.
You guessed it.
Can we see something that's not from the Civil War?
I love my Civil War relics and never disrespect my religion ever again! I'm gonna deport you!
I can't be deported. I was born in the country.
Well, as if you'll let me continue, I was saying about this railroad piece.
Trains made a huge impact on the Civil War. They are one of the main things people cite when talking about the North's industrialization, for good reason. Railroads played a major role in the North winning the war. Railroads transported soldiers and supplies to the front lines, so the side with more had more mobility and more ability to deploy reinforcements. By 1861, 22,000 miles of track had been laid in northern states, and only 9,500 miles in the South. The main rail centers in the South were Atlanta, Richmond, and Chattanooga, with very little track west of the Mississippi, while pretty much every notable area in the North had a hub of railroads going to and fro.
I think it sounds interesting. I'll buy it for 1,500 yen.
That sounds like quite the plentiful amount, amigo. I'll take it, but use it wisely, because you know it's from
The Civil War. We know. We
Well, we sure had a great finds today.
We sure did, Frank. I'm hoping to make some solid dough from these Civil War relics and gems.
Me too. I would love to keep some of them because they're an amazing part of our history.
Well, that's all, folks. Until next time.